Greetings everyone. In the previous video I had covered what is geodetic surveying, principles of geodetic surveying and the classification of triangulation system. In this video, continuing with the next topic, that is triangulation figures or systems. So this triangulation system, it describes the manner in which the base triangle is extended. A number of triangulation systems are there, and this, it must be noted that in all the triangulation system the basic figure is a triangle. Coming to the first one, that is single chain of triangles. What is this single chain of triangles is? Here the base of the triangle is extended to cover a larger area by adding the triangles in one direction. That is, suppose this is your baseline. This is your baseline and you will choose a point, that is this. Then you will measure all the three angles. Then you can measure all the sides, like you can calculate all the sides of this triangle by using sine rule. This is what the principle of triangulation is. Then now you know what is this line, that is the length of this line. So what you will do is you will extend this triangle by considering this as the baseline. Like this you keep on extending the triangles, or you keep on adding the triangles in one direction, which results in the chain of triangles. Then coming to the double chain of triangles. This double chain of triangles, it is same as the single chain of triangles, but here it is extended in two sides. That is, there is a common baseline, that is this. So using this common baseline you are extending the triangle in either side of the triangle. So this type of, that is double chain of triangles, it is preferred when covering larger widths and areas, when the width is larger and the area is big. Next is the centered figures. Here in the centered figures, it has a central station in its chain, and this consists of a series of polygons with central stations and interconnected as shown in the figure. The polygon is usually, it may be the hexagon, pentagon and quadrilateral. Next is the quadrilaterals. In this quadrilaterals we have a set of quadrilaterals with their diagonals being calculated by measuring all the 8 angles of quadrilateral, that is these angles 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. All the 8 angles are measured and this length of this diagonals is calculated. This system, it is most accurate as the number of checks available are more. Note that there is no station at the intersection of the diagonals. Here there is no station here at the intersection of diagonals as in the centered figures. In centered figures you have the central stations. Continuing with the next topic, that is selection of triangulation stations. Here, what is triangulation station? That is when you have a triangulation figure, say this is your triangle, here this is your baseline. Then the apex of this triangulation figure is called the triangulation station. So what are the points to be kept in mind to select this triangulation stations? Let us see what are the points to be kept in mind. The first point is the triangulation stations should be intervisible. That is, all these 3 triangulation stations should be intervisible. So to obtain this criteria, or to satisfy this criteria, what should be done is the station should be placed upon most elevated ground so that it will be intervisible to each other. Then coming to the second point, that is they should form well-shaped triangles. That is, the angle should be isosceles with base angles 56 degree or equilateral. So now let us see what is well-shaped triangle or well-conditioned triangle. This well-conditioned triangle is nothing but the triangle of such a shape in which any error in the angular measurement, that is any error in this angular measurement, has minimum effect upon the computation of lengths or lengths that are computed. So what should be that? It should be the base angles should be 56 degree or equilateral triangle or equilateral, that is 60 degree, 60 degree and 60 degree. Adding these three angles you will get 180 degree, so that your triangle is a well conditioned triangle. Then coming to the next one, that is station should be easily accessible with facilities to carry water, food without difficulty. So we all know that the basic need for a human being is food, water and shelter, even the cloth also. So this the basic need, that is food and water, it should be easily accessible to these stations. Then the next point is the station should be selected that the length of sight is neither too small nor too large. That is, when the length of sight is small, what happens? Errors due to centering and bisectings occurs. Then when the length of sight is very large, what happens is the signal it will be too indistinct from accurate bisection. Coming to the next point, that is fifth point, they should be in commanding stations so as to serve as the control for subsidiary triangulation and for possible future extension. That is, this station should be such that it is like the commanding situations. Like in future, if you want to extend this triangle, it should be very easy to carry out. Like this. Then in heavily wooden countries, the station should be located such that cost of clearing and cutting is minimum. See, when there is the plantation or the woody trees or the woody area, the region over here, so to cut and clear that way, that is, as I said you, the first point. What is the first point? It is the triangulation station should be intervisible. So if this has to be intervisible and it has to be easily accessible, means what you have to do is it should be very clear. So to clear this jungle or the woody area, you may need much money. So what you have to do is you have to consider this criteria. So it is better to avoid this stations, or you should be like, or the cost of clearance and the cutting should be minimum. Then the next point is stations should be such that line of sight do not pass over towns, factories, etc. Same. If this line of sight, if it is passing throughout the city or factories or the towns, what happens? It is not easy to access, or it is not good to carry out the surveying in such kind of places. Then coming into the next topic, that is baseline measurement. So we know what is baseline, isn't it? That is the length of the side which we know. This is the apex. These are the triangulation station A, B, C, and this is your baseline, that is AC. This is the baseline. So we shall see how it is done. This baseline measurement, it is very important as it forms the important part of the triangulation. Why it is important? Because using this one length of this baseline and the angles of other three sides, we'll calculate the length of this side, these two sides. So the measurement of baseline is very important. This forms the most important part of the triangulation. Then this forms basis of computation of triangulation system, as I said you. Then the length of this baseline depends on the order of triangulation. In the previous video, we had discussed about the length of the baseline. That is, the length of the baseline for first order triangulation it is 5 to 15 kilometers. Then for the second order triangulation it is 1.5 to 5 kilometers. Then for third order triangulation it is 0.5 to 3 kilometers. So this sentence, that is, length of the baseline depends on order of triangulation. So here you can see the length of the baseline, it is depending on the order of triangulation. Then coming to the next topic, that is selection of site for this baseline. The points to be kept for the selection of site for the baseline are like this. That is, first point is the site should be fairly level. So when the site is fairly level, you can measure the distance between the baseline, or you can measure the distance between these two stations very easily. So if the ground is slopey, in the condition where the level is where the ground is not fairly level, if the ground is slopey, what should be done? It shall be uniform and gentle. Then if you have an undulating ground like this, if the ground is undulating something like this, what should be done? It should be avoided. Then the second point is the site should be free from obstructions throughout the whole length. The line clearing should be cheap. As I said you, in the points to be remembered while selecting the stations, that is triangulation stations, there I have said you that you should avoid the woody country or woody lands. So that is what the meaning of the sentence, that is, the site should be free from obstructions throughout the whole length. Then the line clearing should be cheap. The extremities of base should be intervisible at the ground level. For this base line or the site selection of base line, the extremities of the base should be intervisible at the ground level itself. Then the fifth point is well-shaped triangle should be formed, which should be extendable in case of primary work or triangulation. Well-shaped triangles in the sense where the triangulation or the triangle of such a shape in which any error in the angular measurement has minimum effect upon the computed length, that is this length. So the triangles should be well shaped, and it should also promote, or it should also be flexible with the extension of the work like this. Then coming to the sixth point, the site should be such that a minimum length of baseline is available as specified. So the minimum length of baseline, it should be available here. So if you are carrying out the survey with first order triangulation, your minimum length of baseline should be 5 kilometers. Suppose if there is the length of the baseline available till here, if it is 5 kilometers, you should not consider this as your baseline. You should search for other baseline because it is not satisfying the minimum length of the baseline as specified here. In the next video, we shall learn what is satellite station, then how to reduce, then what is the reduction to center.